Hello and welcome to TVS Correspondent, the show where we take a look at what's happening in the US and around the world. I am Radzi Ahmad, and with me is our correspondent for the United States of America, Alfian Zaini. Alfian, as always, it's great to have you on board. I heard it's been pretty cold up there. How are you holding up?
It has indeed been pretty cold for most of the states here, but fortunately, it escaped our part here in Virginia and also Washington D.C. Radzi, fortunately. So I'm keeping myself warm and feeling fantastic as ever. Hope you guys are feeling well as well. All right.
All right, well, let's get right into it. The coronavirus pandemic reached a grim new milestone in the United States on Friday, with the nation's cumulative death toll from COVID-19 surpassing 900,000, according to data collected by Reuters. Now, to our viewers who missed last week's episode, we talked about the coronavirus death toll in the US potentially reaching 1 million in the coming months. Now, on Monday last week, the tally was 883,000 deaths, and just 5 days later, it has reached 900,000. Now, what do you make of this, Sofyan?
It's a tragedy, really, Razzie. More and more American lives are being lost, and I don't doubt that we'll reach the 1 million death toll. According to the Reuters running tally of state-reported data, the total number of American lives lost to COVID-19 since the first U.S. cases were detected in early 2020 has reached at least 904,228. That's more than the entire population of South Dakota. Nevertheless, Reuters figures show that the U.S. COVID-19 death rate appears to be slowing. The 7-day average fell for 2 days in a row to 2,592, compared with the peak average of 2,674 in the current wave of infections. By comparison, the peak during the Delta wave in January 2021 was an average of 3,300 deaths a day. Razi.
And I'm assuming the death rate is slowing down because the Omicron surge is waning. Is that correct?
Yes, the Omicron surge is waning. According to Reuters figures, some public health officials have said that as the Omicron outbreak recedes and hospitalizations decline, the pandemic may enter a new phase in the United States and elsewhere. In the state of Iowa, for example, the governor announced on Friday that a public health disaster proclamation and special safety measures that go with it would expire on February 15th. He said the flu and other infectious illnesses are part of our everyday lives, and the coronavirus can be managed similarly.
Well, I'm not too sure if that decision is quite the right one to make right now, as evidently the daily number of new cases are still staggeringly high at the moment, especially when you compare them to other countries. Could you provide us with the latest data on new cases, Alfian?
Nationally confirmed COVID-19 cases are now averaging 354,000 a day, half of what was reported less than 2 weeks ago, and down from the peak of nearly 806,000 infections a day on January 15th. However, officials say many infections go uncounted because they are detected by home testing kits and not reported to public health authorities. Over the past 7 days, the states reporting the most new cases per capita were Alaska, Kentucky, Washington State, South Carolina, and North Dakota. Current COVID hospitalizations on Thursday stood at 117,000, compared with a peak of nearly 153,000 on January 20. So even though the numbers are still tragically high compared to other countries, we are starting to see some slowing down, and hopefully the numbers keep going down as the Omicron surge wanes. Razi.
Starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, but we still have a long way to go before we get there. We'll be taking a short commercial break, but more is on the agenda on TVS Correspondent, so don't go anywhere. Back on TVS Correspondent, Facebook's parent company, Meta Platforms, just did a faceplant on Wall Street. The company lost more than $232 billion in value on Thursday. According to the Wall Street Journal, that's the single biggest one-day drop in value in the history of the US stock market. Its stock crashed 26% on the back of poor earnings results, with the Wall Street founder Mark Zuckerberg plunging by as much as $31 billion. Now, how did Facebook, one of the biggest social media platforms in the world, get to this point, Alfian?
Okay, Razi, the biggest troubling sign for the company is that fewer people logged on to Facebook every day per quarter than they did the year before, for the first time during the last 3 months of 2021. Add to that, slow growth numbers, a lower revenue forecast for the next few months, failure to generate advertising revenue from Reels and WhatsApp, and added costs due to changes in Apple's operating system that prevent ad tracking. So it's not surprising, really, that Meta is now in the middle of a historic stock collapse after its earnings showed no growth in monthly Facebook users last quarter relative to the prior period, raising concerns about the company's future. The 26% crash wiped out $232 billion from its market value. And as you said, it's the biggest one-day decline for a stock in the United States history. This single day decline would be more than the market value of about 470 of the 500 biggest companies in the US.
Mm.
Razi.
You mentioned there a few reasons for why Meta's stock crashed so catastrophically. Could you explain those reasons in detail for our viewers?
Yeah, sure thing. Meta, or as most people know them as Facebook, said in its fourth quarter earnings call that Facebook's daily active user base shrank for the first time in its 18-year history. Facebook users fell by about 500,000 in the last 3 months of 2021 to 1.93 billion logging in each day. The loss was greatest in Africa, South America, and India, which suggests that Facebook's ability to add as many users
Mm.
globally has now peaked.
Mm. And I'm assuming that as many more people have come out of COVID-19 lockdowns and getting out more, that has probably something to do with it, Elfan?
Yes, that's partly to do with it. Meta Chief Financial Officer Dave Wenner said part of the usage decrease for the main Facebook app and website came from fewer COVID-19 lockdowns, which tend to make people go online more. But that's not all of it. Mark Zuckerberg said that competition from other social media platforms, including viral video sharing app TikTok, is having an impact on their business. He also echoed that sentiment during an all hands virtual meeting, saying that the company faced an unprecedented level of competition, including messaging platforms such as Telegram and Slack. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, Razi.
You also mentioned Meta's failure to generate revenue from Reels and WhatsApp, as well as Apple's restrictive ad tracking policy, is also one of the causes of the stock crash. But since we don't have much time to delve deeper into that, we're gonna move on. So, what does the Meta crash mean for Mark Zuckerberg's wealth?
Well, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Meta's stock crash leaves Zuckerberg, the company's CEO, with a net worth of about $92 billion, down from $120.6 billion. That means he has been pushed outside the list of the top 10 richest people in the world for the first time ever since July 2015. What's interesting is that this one day loss of $31 billion is only the second biggest ever caused by a share price decline, only rivaled by the volatile swings of Elon Musk's wealth. He lost $35 billion in a day in November as Tesla shares fell after he posted a Twitter poll in which he asked for voters if he should sell 10% of his stake in the company. In the last 2 weeks, his net worth also plunged another $25.8 billion. So there's that.
Whatever would these billionaires do, losing over $30 billion in just one day? I can't even imagine. So anyway, back to Meta. Instagram is also another very popular platform of theirs, and it is indeed very popular in Malaysia. As we have seen with Facebook's declining user base, should they be worried about Instagram too?
There is cause for concern, yes. It should be noted that Instagram was acquired by Facebook in 2012 for $1 billion, and has been seen as the solution to the slow growth at Facebook, with revenue from ads on Instagram increasingly crucial for Meta. But according to forecasted insider intelligence, Instagram's growth in monthly users will fall to 5.8% this year and 3.1% by 2025 from 16.5% last year. Analysts say that TikTok is hurting Instagram's growth too. So, decline in Instagram users and lower revenue from ads on Instagram, combined with the declining user base of Facebook, could essentially halt Mark Zuckerberg's ambitions, Razi.
Well, there you go, folks. The single largest one-day value drop in U.S. stock market history so far, and any more drops could potentially mean Zuckerberg could never realize his metaverse. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Alfian, as always, thank you for the report and for the insight, as always.
Thank you, Razi, and take care, everyone.
All right. Thank you for watching and join us next week on TVS Correspondent. I am Radzi Ahmad and with Alfian Zaini signing off.